Hey everybody, it's Brooke with the Buttered Home and welcome to my messy kitchen. Today we have a wonderful and warm holiday treat for you. Today we're going to be showing you how to make a healthier version of cinnamon apple bread pudding. You will not want to miss this one, so stay tuned. Okay, first to a large bowl we're going to add in 3 cups of milk. Now we're going to mix everything in this large bowl so that it can sit in the fridge for at least an hour. I like to do it overnight, but an hour will be just fine. Now we're going to add in 3 cups of unsweetened applesauce. And I had a piece of a jar left. Now I have a 3-cup jar. And we're going to put that whole thing in. We have 4 eggs that have been lightly beaten. They'll go right in. I'm going to give that a quick mix with my fork just to kind of get that applesauce worked in with the milk and the eggs. Now we want to put in 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Again, I'm going to get that whisk in with my fork. And it doesn't matter if it collects on the side, and I'll show you why in just a minute. And I know a lot of people don't like this, but this is instrumental in bringing out the warmth of the apples. So nutmeg, we're going to do about the same amount. Now, if you don't love nutmeg, you can do slightly less, but we like the full 2 teaspoons in this. And if you are not a fan of nutmeg, it could be that you don't like the already ground. So one option is to buy it like this in the nuts and then grate it yourself. That really adds a lot to it. All right, now I'm gonna switch from my fork to my whisk just so I can get that cinnamon kind of broken up. So now I have about 2 cups of wheat bread that I'm just going to chop into cubes. Now, if you didn't want to chop it, you don't have to. Sometimes just tearing it with your hands works just fine too. And if you're like me and you're in a hurry, tearing it with your hands is a great idea. So we just bought a crusty wheat bread from our local bakery, and we're just tearing it up about 2 cups and putting it directly into our liquid, because we want it to soak everything up. So I'm just going to give that a stir and get that bread pushed in. And I like to tear my bread in all different sizes or cut it in all different sizes. It gives it, the bread pudding, a real rustic kind of look. All right, now I have 2 golden delicious apples. You can use red, whatever kind of apple you want. But I prefer the softer apples like the red delicious and the gold delicious to go in here. And I've just chopped them up kind of fine. We're going to fold those in as well. And you'd be surprised how much of that spiced liquid the apples themselves will soak up during the rest time. Now to this, we're going to add in 1 cup of dried cranberries. You can use raisins. I know that's traditional in a bread pudding, but we're shaking things up a bit and making this a little more festive. So 1 cup of dried cranberries it is for us. And now we have a 1/2 cup of chopped pecans that we're also going to fold in. Now you can cover this bowl as is and set it in the refrigerator for at least an hour, or you can go ahead and pour it in the casserole dish that you are going to bake it in. Either one works. If you have short on room in your fridge, keeping it right in here ought to be just fine. If you do put it in the in the casserole dish, you will want to prepare it by lightly spraying it. But for our purposes, we're going to cover this and just pop it in the fridge and let it rest and soak up all that good flavor for at least an hour, and then we'll be back and talk to you about how we bake it. So stay with us. Okay, so we have removed our bread pudding mixture from the refrigerator, and I'm just going to give it a good stir. Now, if you have put this in your casserole dish, you don't have to do that step. But now I have a 9x13 dish that I'm going to pour this in. And I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. So we just want to spread this out in a single layer. And then we will bake this in that 350 degree oven for 45 to 60 minutes, just until it gets nice and brown on top and a little crispy. So we'll be back in a minute to show you how we make the vanilla sauce that goes on top with an unexpected ingredient. So stay with us. Okay, to make our vanilla sauce, we're using some really healthy components. We're going to add first in about 1/2 cup of sour cream, or you can use unsweetened plain Greek yogurt. Either one is fine. They both have really good protein counts, and we're going to give them a good little boost as well. Now, I don't do a lot of recipes that call for special ingredients, but this one more or less does. We're using a vanilla whey protein powder, and you can use any brand you like. Mine comes with a pretty big scoop, but most scoops end up being, this is probably about 3 tablespoons. So what I would suggest is using about 6 tablespoons of your favorite vanilla flavored whey protein powder. So for me, that's gonna be 2 full scoops. And yeah, that looks like a bunch, but it'll mix in, I promise. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix that in with the sour cream. And so you're getting double protein right here. Now we're going to add in 1/2 cup of milk to this. I'm using reduced fat or 2% milk. You can use coconut milk, you can use almond milk. You just want something that's unsweetened, because we want to get all of our sweetness from that protein powder and all of our vanilla flavor. Now you can also do this with a hand mixer, because it's going to go through a couple of lumpy type stages. But I typically do this step when the bread pudding is cooling. Now you can speed up the cooling process of the bread pudding by putting it into the refrigerator. Either one is fine. This will thicken, but you do want it like a sauce consistency. And just whisk this up until all the lumps and clumps are gone. Then what we're going to do is we are going to cover it and put it into the refrigerator until our bread pudding has completely cooled. Then you can pour this right over the whole bread pudding, or you can serve it on the side so people can dip it as they dip into their apple bread pudding per serving. Either one is fine. Both this and the bread pudding, in this case, are better served cold. And I know that seems like an anomaly as well, but you just have to trust me on this, because it gives everything a nice, good set consistency, which is what you look for in bread pudding. So we'll allow our bread pudding to finish cooling. We'll come back and we'll put this over an individual serving so you can see how good it looks, and then we'll taste it. So stay with us. Okay, we're back. We finished our cooling and set time. I actually let this sit overnight. It's much better that way, and I take it out of the fridge the day that I am going to serve it, and we actually serve it cold or room temperature. I know that's a lot different than you're used to with a traditional bread pudding, but trust me on this, something about the texture of the apples, it just really, really, really is better whenever it's room temperature or cold. So let's take a look at it. First of all, it's gorgeous. Now, like I mentioned before, you're welcome to use raisins in the place of those cranberries. That is just my preference because the cranberries are not as sweet. So let's cut us out some. And also, chilling it like we did keeps it nice and firm. And I don't know about you, but I like my bread pudding just nice and firm. You see it's nice and cooked up there in the middle. You've got layers of those apples and that whole grain wheat bread. And I like to put this vanilla protein in a pretty dish. It's not in a pretty dish right now. And then serve it next door to the cinnamon bread pudding. Y'all, isn't that pretty? Now, just to kick it up just another notch, I'm going to take a little cinnamon and just garnish it right over the top. Light, fluffy, delicious, and the sauce that we made with the vanilla protein powder, you're getting another whole source of protein here. So you can serve this and it'll be healthy for the people that you love, and they won't even know it. So let's give it a taste. Wonderful, creamy, soft. You got the texture of those pecans along with the crispness of the apples. Those apples, even though we used like those Golden Delicious, they still held their shape very well during the cooking process. Oh, fantastic. And that sauce made with the protein powder, fantastic. Now, if you didn't have vanilla protein powder or you weren't interested in adding it at all, you could just use some vanilla flavored or French vanilla flavored pudding mix. That would work just as well. You won't get the added benefits of the protein, but it'll be just as good. This recipe, like all of our others, can be found over at thebutteredhome.com. We would love it if you would give us a visit there and try out some of our recipes. All of our recipes are free to you. You get a free printable recipe card at no charge, no membership, no nothing. So we would appreciate a visit there. Also, if you want all of our videos in one convenient place, head over to YouTube, search for The Buttered Home, and when you find us, hit that subscribe button and ding the bell so that you can be notified when we drop new videos like this one. If you're not already, make sure you're following us on all of our social channels. We have a really good time. You never know where we're going to pop in. Oh, and see me make a mess in the kitchen or act silly, you know, sillier than I do on these videos anyway. Which, I mean, I know you're thinking, how can that get any sillier? But trust me, it can. So from all of us here at The Buttered Home to your home, we hope you'll try this cinnamon apple bread pudding and love it as much as we do. And from our house to yours, we sure love you. Bye.